Today's lesson is lesson 62, display data in stem and leaf plots and histograms. So some vocabulary words. Relative frequency, when we're looking at the stem and leaf plots or a histogram, relative frequency just is the number of times an event happens divided by the total number of trials. So when you look at a stem and leaf plot like we did earlier, you have stem and leaf plots. Here you have, this would be your stem part, and then this is your leaf. And then you have all the tens digits, so like this would be your zeros, your tens, your 20s, and so on. And say we had 7, 8, we had 11, 13, 14, 14, 14, and so on. However many times a certain number occurs divided by the total number of numbers here. So if we were to try to find the relative frequency of, let's just say 7, there's 2 sevens out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 numbers. So the relative frequency would be 2 out of 8, or you can put that as a percent or as a decimal. Histogram is just another way of showing your data. This is a bar graph that displays frequency of data in equal intervals. And so here you can see an example of one. The intervals are just by ones. You might have intervals of 5, you could have intervals of 10, but it's just a different version of a bar graph. So let's first take a look at stem and leaf plot. Here, the stem and leaf plot was created for us, looking at the high temperatures of April 2007 in New Orleans. Since we've already learned how to make the stem and leaf plots earlier in the year, this one we're not looking at how to make it, we're just looking at one that's completed, so now we can analyze it. And that's what our main focus is today, is being able to analyze a stem and leaf plots. So our stem and leaf plot, here's the same one that we had on the previous slide. We want to find the median, the mode, the range, and then the relative frequency of getting 81. So the median, remember, is the middle number. So the number in order or in the middle. So if we look at our temperatures, since we're looking at the temperatures in April 2007. You could count all the numbers, or you can figure out how many numbers or how many days does April have. Well, April has 30 days in it. So that means we have 30 numbers here. So halfway is 15. So if we find the 15th number, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So this 8 and this 0. So we have 78 and 80. So the halfway point, or the middle number between 78 and 80, if you add those two and divide them, or halfway between 78 and 80, would give you 79. So the median temperature would be 79. The mode, which digits or which number appears the most. And with a stem and leaf plot, you can look at your leaves and find out in all the rows which digit is used the most. Well, I know I have 3 zeros here, I have 3 8s here, I got 3 3s here. I don't see any other digit that's listed more than 3 times. So our mode in this example, our mode would have, actually there's 3 1s right here. We have 4 different modes. We have 78, we have 80, we have 81, and we have 83. Those 4 numbers are listed the most on this stem and leaf plot. And then the range, we look at our largest number, which is 87. And our lowest number is 53, so 87 minus 53, that would give us 34. Now find the relative frequency of 81. Well, we know that there are 3 81s out of the 30. And so we reduce that to be 1/10. And 1/10, if you put it as a decimal, would be 0.1. Or if you put it as a percent, it would be 10%. If you were to use that same stem and leaf plot, but this time make a histogram with it, you would use intervals. And since we can use these stems here as our intervals, so are coming by 10, so our 50s, our 60s, our 70s, our 80s. And since we have two 50s, they drew a bar, so this would be about 2. The 60s, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so that's why it's going all the way up to the 5 mark. The 70s, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So a little more than halfway to 10. And then your 80s, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So you put the bar all the way up here. So that would be our histogram. Application problem. The list below shows the results in meters of the first round triple jump from the 2007 NCAA Women's Outdoor Track Championships. Create a histogram of the data using a graphing calculator. And you can see the distances listed there. To do that, I have some pictures listed on where you need to put your information. So you have to enter the data into a list on your graphing calculator. There is a page in our book that will give us more information on how to do a histogram. That would be found on page 404 and 405 of your textbook. But let's go through how to do this in our graphing calculator. So let me pull up my calculator here. So we need to get to our list. In order to get the data into our list, we need to hit the second and the y equals button. Let me go here, hit the second button and the y equals. And you see that we have our plots right there. We need to go to plot 1 and make sure that that is on. So I'm going to go down. And then hit enter. And we want to hit enter on here to turn that one on. When you click on top, click that to turn it on, we need to determine what type are we going to be, we're going to be using. Once we turn it on, hit the down arrow once and then over twice to select the end of the first row. So if I go down, and we need to go over to, so this last one right here where you see our bars, that's the one that we want to choose. And then let's hit enter. And then from that point, it says the settings for the X list should be L1 and the frequency should be 1. And so that's what you see there on my calculator screen. If the X list setting is not L1, then you have to go down and then select a different option. So now to create the histogram, we're going to press zoom and select the number 9. So I'm going to come over here, select the zoom. We need to go all the way down to number 9, so zoom stat, and then we're going to hit enter. Now you can see that I had an error message on my calculator. And the reason why I had an error message is because I forgot to enter the data into my calculator. So we need to hit the stat button, and we're going to hit number 1, which is edit. So I hit enter. Now you can see our list. You got to make sure that your list 1 is empty. If you have numbers in there, you just have to click on it and clear them. We need to put in all of our numbers that we have in the problem. So let's start entering those in. So the first one is 12.16. So you have to hit enter after every time you enter them in. Next one is 11.77, 11.64, 11.50, 11.48, 11.45, 11.31, 10.94, 10.98, 9.88, 12.08, 11.58, 11.41, 11.5, 11.34, 11.24, 11.22, 11.13, and 10.76. Once you have them all in there, then we will go to the steps that we were using before. So our next step would be, once we enter them in there, then hit second y equals. So second y equals, we already have this on. So let's just hit, so since that is on, so I could just double check that, hit on. We want to make sure that this one right here is highlighted, which it is. Now I can hit zoom, go all the way down to number 9. Click 9 or click enter, and then there you can see I have my histogram there. And if I move this over a little bit here, you can see that my table is similar to the one over here. We can change the window to the numbers that they have here. Mine's off a little bit. Mine has the decimals. Here they have them to whole numbers. So if I were to change all those, so let's just say I changed all of them. So let me clear what I have here and put 9. Next one, clear, put 13. Next one, clear it, put 1. Next one, clear, put 0. Clear this next one, 15. Clear this one, put 5. The last one's 1. Now if I hit zoom again and then click number 9, you can see I still have the same, very similar to what I have over here. So I have a few more bars, but this one's not showing all of them. My intervals might be a little bit different. That is okay. Right there. There's one thing I do want to show you on here. If I were to hit trace, you can see this blinking cursor here. It tells me what the minimum number for this bar is. The minimum is 9.88 and the maximum is less than 10.336. That means I had one number that is in that range. If I go to the right, I had one number that was between 10.336 and 10.792. The next interval, I have 5 numbers mentioned in there. And then the next one, there's 9 numbers listed here. This is just telling you right here, the minimum and the maximum, what the range is. So what is the interval? And then the next one, there's 2 numbers found in that interval, and there's 1 in that interval. So you can determine what your intervals are. These are going by decimals just because it's not a large one. But if you had bigger numbers, maybe you're going to count by 5s or intervals of 5s or maybe intervals of 10. These are about intervals of just under 0.5. So that is our lesson today on displaying data in stem and leaf plots and histograms.